tutorial for making these earrings that are so cute and have little sloths hanging from them. If you're like, oh, those are awesome, but I don't want to make them myself, I will hereby volunteer to make you some sloth earrings in whatever color combination you'd like. There will be a link to order them in the description box below. So again, if you're interested, definitely check that out, and I will see you all next time. Bye! So we're going to begin. I'm going to take the little metal finding piece that I'm going to use as the base for my sloth to be hanging from, and I'm going to trace it on a piece of paper. And then using a rich black pen, so this is a pen that's like borderline Sharpie or permanent marker. You just want a pen that's really a deep dark line. You're going to be just drawing out what you want your sloth to look like. And on your piece of paper, you're going to hopefully have your pen bleed through. So don't choose a pen that you know doesn't bleed through that you like to use for making notes, because you want this one to be visible through the other side of the paper. So after you have your little sloth drawing done, you're going to flip your paper over and you're going to draw out your little template again. So you're going to repeat the process, because for the two earrings, you want one to be facing one direction and one to be facing the other. So now after you're done with both of your little drawings, you're going to lay a nail form backing over your template, and you're going to start with whatever color acrylic you want, and you're going to begin sculpting your sloth. Sculpt the legs that are on the far side of the sloth's body first. So sculpt those legs, and then make sure that they're kind of set up a little bit, kind of cured. You don't want to rush this process. If you want, and you have time, or you are working on a separate project and you want to leave these for a little longer to really set up, you certainly can. If your acrylic is a little slower setting than mine, that would definitely be what I would recommend. I'm using a fast setting acrylic that just starts curing immediately. Some of them, after you set down the bead, they take a little bit of time, 30 seconds or so, and they kind of polymerize at their will, and then you can work them, and they take a long time to cure, and they're very leisurely, at least in terms of acrylic. Acrylic is not leisurely at all, really. It's like keep working on it, just kind of go, go, go. But there's different levels of that go, go, go. And so if yours is one that takes a little longer, and those first two legs are not cured and you want to move on, do something else and come back, so that you don't smudge them as you're working on the rest of the body. So I did the arm that was up by our sloth's head, so I did the head next, and then I'm going to do the leg that's furthest down and kind of continue that into the body piece in like one single piece of acrylic, so it doesn't look like there's a leg and then it attaches to the body. It just looks smooth. I actually had the privilege of seeing a sloth last weekend in person, and oh my goodness, they are so amazing. Both my dad and I were just in awe of watching this sloth scratch its armpit. It was the best thing. But it was perfect that I had this video. I don't have any videos of the sloth though, but he was pretty darn cute. So we're going to go through, and then we're going to do the arm that is in front of the sloth's body that is by the head. So that one you are going to make it like a separate piece and kind of bring it down and overlapping the body a little bit and making a little barrier between the sloth's face and legs and body. Then you're going to grab your little loop-de-loop that you're going to be using, and if your acrylic is really hard, which it probably will be, you're probably going to need to take and with your e-file create a little groove where the hoop touches the legs. So you're going to do the groove on the front of the legs that are behind and on the back of the legs that are on the front of the sloth's body. Dust, dust, dust. Grab your hoop, and it should be able to kind of be woven in between those legs and fit into those grooves. If it doesn't quite, and you need to e-file it a little bit more for it to fit in whatever spot it's stuck on, go ahead and do that. Fit it again. And then after you've got it where it fits nicely, then you're going to dust it again. Of course, get rid of all that dust. You don't want that to be glued in or anything. And then grab your nail glue and add just the tiniest amount of nail glue on all of those little feet. And then after you've got that tiny little bit of nail glue placed, I actually wiped it off, because there'll be enough in there that'll kind of settle into the grooves and it won't get too sticky and too stuck and just kind of make a mess. Sometimes nail glue makes a mess. Then you're going to fit your sloth onto the little hoop, and you're going to hold it there until that nail glue grabs it just enough. Be very cautious not to glue your gloves to your earring, because that's kind of the way it goes for me, usually at least. Now I'm going to go back to my sloth body color, which is a really pretty teal, and I'm going to be adding the little I'm going to fill in the grooves that are left. I'm going to be adding little details as I go. This process is, I think, the most fun. So to me, when I'm making a project of any variety, really, this last little bit where you're just kind of finding the things that need to be finished, the areas that need just a little bit more, I love that part of the process. It is by far the most relaxing for my sloth, because I want them to be viewable from either the front or the back. I'm going to be adding the same amount of detail and attention to the back of my sloth. The one thing that you do need to keep in mind is that you need to do the opposite for which legs are in front versus behind, so that
it does look like you have a little 360-degree sloth, even though he is a little flat compared to what, if the sloth was actually proportionate, it would be not this flat. But you still have kind of the basic idea of what your sloth is going to look like. So you have the front side and you have the back side. One thing that is kind of funny with sculpting it this way, where you have the front and the back, is that you have to kind of refine those shapes for your sloth, for especially that arm that kind of goes over his head in the back. You have to kind of rediscover how that would look, which is just a nice soft shape. Everything about this set of earrings is, as far as the shapes go, they're very soft, they're very smooth, kind of slow looking, which is how a sloth is. And so we're going to also take some more acrylic and go up and over the hoop so that it's holding on to it like it's a branch, so that we're going to just kind of go up and over and cup the top of the hoop with the little fingers, little hands. We're going to add the toenails momentarily. For now, just worry about the hands. And then after you have all of these little acrylic pieces, you've got all of that base color done, you're happy with it, you're going to need to grab a couple different secondary acrylic colors. So the color that you use to start with is going to be what you would want to consider medium. So it's your medium color. Then you're going to need to grab a darker color of a similar version of the color that you're using, but darker. And the same thing with a color that's lighter. So when you're going through and you're picking out your colors, keep that in mind before you start picking it out, and make sure that you have colors that go together for all of those different needs. So then with your lighter color, you're going to take and you're going to apply that to the center of your sloth's face, and you're going to pat it out. So it's not a sharp line, it's kind of blends out into a nice little ombre. And then with your darker color, you're going to start doing some shading. So on the legs that are behind, whether that's when you're looking at the front of the sloth or the back, you're going to add a little shadow on the part of the leg that is further away. So not on top of the hand that's over the branch, but just kind of below that. And so then on the back, you're going to do the same thing to the opposite legs. And then once you have all of those little shadows done on the legs, it's a really good base to kind of get an idea of how much shadowing you want to do. If you really like the way that it's warming things up or cooling things down, you can go ahead and do more of it. With that darker color, you're also going to want to do the little darker patches that go around your sloth's eyes. So add that, just kind of set the bead down, pat it out. You want that to be a more sharp line. So unlike around the face and on the shadows where you really kind of brushed out the acrylic so that it wasn't a crisp shape, for the eye areas, you want them to be that nice crisp shape. So I'm also going to use that color for my sloth's nose. There would be so many fun color combinations for this. The other one that I was thinking that would be kind of fun is if you took a pink and then just have a classic pink and then and for the darker colors, make it a little bit more purple. So have like a more of a magenta color for the shadows. And then for the lighter patch on the sloth's face, have it just be a touch more orange. So like a light peach color, and then have the pink, and then have the magenta or the fuchsia colors. I think that would be gorgeous. So I was going back and forth. I knew I didn't want it to be like a sloth color. I wanted it to be some other color, and I couldn't decide, but I went with this one because I don't have any earrings for myself that are this type of a color. So I figured that would be a good fit. But there were some fun ones that kind of passed through my brain. So now we're going to go through with the lighter color, whatever your lighter color happens to be, and you're going to be adding your sloth's toenails. So place down a bead of that acrylic, spread it out so that it kind of just cups the end of your sloth's toe or foot area, toes, and then you're going to separate it into 3 triangles. These are nowhere near as long as a real sloth's toenails are. They're not nearly as impressive, but it definitely gets the point across, and it looks pretty good. So now after we've got that done, and they're not delicate, that's probably the biggest thing. You don't want those toenails to be too delicate, so you want them to be touching something the whole time. You don't want them to be sticking off your sloth anywhere. I'm going to take some dark blue acrylic paint that I mixed, so some blue and some acrylic paint, just kind of swirl those together a little bit, add some water so it's not quite so intense, and then you're going to be adding some fur texture here and there on your sloth body. The more detail you want to add, obviously go for it. I'm a pro detail person, but I'm also trying to keep this a little bit simplified, a little bit cute, and so I don't want to overdo my details, which is a hard balance for me. Then I'm going to dilute some white acrylic, and I'm going to be adding some white highlights, the white little fur texture on my sloth as well. When you are diluting your white, keep in mind that it will look whiter when it's wet, and it will kind of tone down as it dries. So don't worry if it looks too intense at first, knowing that it'll tame as it dries down. I'm going to take white acrylic, and I'm going to brighten up my sloth's eyes. I did sculpt them with white acrylic, but they just did not. White acrylic paint is what I'm brightening them up with. The white acrylic just didn't show up nearly as well as I would have liked it to. And then with black acrylic paint, I'm going to be adding the pupils on my sloth's eyes. And then if you want, obviously go through and add a little bit highlight back into the eye. And then apply your choice of top coat. I'm using one that is ever so slightly shiny. It is a 3D glaze from Koopa. I think it has a satin finish. It's really pretty. Then we're going to fill in. So these earrings were made to have another dangly piece that hangs down. I didn't want to add any other dangly pieces. So instead I'm going to place a Swarovski crystal into that hole that is meant for the dangly piece, a bigger one towards the front, and then a smaller one to cap off the back. And I thought that combination looked fantastic. I'm attaching them with acrylic. Once that's done, I'm going to be adding my earring hoop, which unfortunately is a really horrible color. It should be teal, or it should be silver, but all I had on hand was gold and it works. I hope you guys like this little set as much as I do. I absolutely love the sloth earrings. If you would like me to make a pair, like I said, definitely check out my link on there. You can type in what color combination you would like. Obviously, be specific if you want like a certain something. Otherwise, just say pink or purple and I'll kind of run with it as I think what would look good. And I will see you all next time. Bye.